Hello, my name is John Reynolds. Welcome to Extraordinary Life Stories. On this episode, I'm talking with Andrew Jenkins. You'll most likely know Andrew's name as the finalist in the popular BBC show Traitors. At the age of 21, he was pronounced dead by the side of the road after a major car accident. He spent 4 weeks in a coma, fighting for his life, and he was told he'd never walk, talk, or use his arms again. Just surviving this accident is an incredible feat. But to go on and thrive, leading by example, regularly leading mental health talks and workshops across the UK is truly inspiring. I'm thankful to Andrew making time to talk to me in between his training for his biggest challenge yet. So let's find out what it is and get into it. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Tell me, who is Andrew Jenkins?
Well, first of all, I'm a proud son, proud brother, and most of all, a proud father of my son Morgan. He's a great lad, and I'm on a massive journey the last couple of years of self-discovery, just finding out who I am really, who the real Andrew Jenkins is, I suppose, the last couple of years. So it's been a massive journey. One of them have been scary, a bit vulnerable, but it's enlightening and it's really good.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Take me back to a young Andrew starting out. What was your sort of career decision making as a young lad?
Well, I was born in 1978 into a loving family. My dad's, old school generation, 80 years of age now. My mother's 77. I got 3 brothers, 2 older brothers, 1 younger brother. Like lots of people in Wales, you're born with a rugby ball in your hand. So I was like 5 years of age playing rugby. I got 2 older brothers, 1 younger brother. So just rugby mad or sports mad at my dad's house. We went to my dad's house now. He's probably watching anything. If Tiddlywinks was a sport, he'd be watching that. He's watching cricket, boxing, rugby, football, you name it, he watches it. So the testosterone in my house growing up and the competitiveness was just ridiculous. So yeah, growing up it was all like the real man, you're strong, winning is everything, losing, second place is nothing. Like lots of families, I suppose. I mean, my upbringing was probably quite similar to lots of families in this country, or definitely in Wales, in the valleys where I'm from. So my upbringing was great, and sport most of my life, brought up with good values, good morals. My parents done really good job for us, and we had everything we wanted, well fed, well clothed, houses. So we were looked after really well. Just didn't have any emotional support of my family, I suppose, looking back now. And rugby, I wanted to play for Wales. That's my dream. Like lots of people again in Wales, to put on the red jersey, run out to the national stadium, play for Wales, played rugby. Yeah, all my life, and then I had to stop playing then later on in my life when I was 21.
Yeah, tell me, because that's a life-defining moment. I mean, a near-death experience. In fact, the incident that you have, you'll tell me, you were pronounced dead by the side of the road. Have I got that right? Yeah,
that's right, yeah. So I was driving my car. There was 5 people in the car. My partner at the time, my son's mother in the passenger seat, my friend and one of my best friends and his partner in the back, and a lady I used to work with in the back. I hit a curb on the driver's passenger side, I flipped the car to the right-hand side, and I went through the driver's side window. So I was dragged along the floor then for a couple of 100 yards. I won't go into too much detail, but as you can imagine, my head was dragged along the floor, so I sustained very serious head injuries. And then when the car stopped sliding, it leant on top of me. So when the emergency services got there, they were asking people in the car questions. Was he speeding? They said, it's too late now, he's dead. So they'd lift the car off.
Were you conscious at this point?
No. As soon as my head hit the floor, I can't remember anything. So luckily, I can't remember anything about this. So the people in the car probably had it worse than me in a psychological, because I've heard the stories off them since, that what they saw was horrendous. Imagine me sliding across the floor and obviously, yeah, ridiculous. I lost so much pint. I think you had 8 pints of blood in your body. I think I lost 6 of them. So I had 2 blood transfusions on the side of the road there and then. They rushed me to the Royal Gwent Hospital, which is a hospital in Newport in South Wales. But there was nothing they could do for me there. So I had a police escort down to the Morrison Hospital in Swansea, which is where neurology was and plastic surgery. But while all this was going on, my mother and father were getting the dreaded knock off the door from the policeman, which no parent wants, to say, you have to come with us now, your son's been involved in a road traffic accident. They just assumed there was like a little bump. So they were in their night pyjamas, I suppose, my mother and father. It was 11:30 in the night. And they said, we'll get changed now. And they said, you haven't got time to get changed, you have to come now. It's that urgent, it's that serious. So they got put in the back of a police car then. They were blue lighted from where they live in a little village called Talbot Green to Newport, which is about 20 minutes away. But as soon as they pulled up outside the hospital, I was on a trolley going back out of that hospital into an ambulance to go to Swansea, to Morrison for the transfer. My dad's, they weren't allowed to see me because I was in such a bad way. I was a mess, basically.
Probably best they didn't see you,
yeah.
Right?
So I had nothing on top of my head, basically. I took the top of my head completely off the top of my head. And I had nothing, my head was dragged along the floor. So I smashed my skull to pieces, nothing on top of my head. So my dad said, can I go in the back of the ambulance with him? And they said, no, you're not allowed. You can't see him. And secondly, we got a doctor in the back, we got all machinery and a nurse keeping your son alive. And they took him to a side room in the hospital and said, we don't think he's going to make the trip from Newport to Swansea, which is 40 minutes. So they were told they don't think I was going to make that trip. I did make it, so I'm not a ghost, but I made the trip. But then I spent 4 weeks in a coma in intensive care, and my family were told on numerous occasions I wasn't going to make it. And then when I did start recovering, they said there's the likelihood I got severe brain damage because they could see shadows on my scan, on the scans on my brain, which was a chance I got brain damage. So be prepared that if I did wake up, I'm not going to be able to recognise anyone, walk, talk, use my arms and legs ever again. So I woke up. I remember I didn't know where I was or anything. I remember my mother standing on my bed and my dad crying and tears falling on my face. And they didn't know where I was. And they said I'd been involved in a car accident. And yeah, I haven't told many people there. Somebody else, it's one person, I suppose, in another interview. When I woke up, I asked my mother if Carl, which is my younger brother, and Bug were okay. Bug was my partner's at the time, his dad, and Carl was my younger brother. He was 14 at the time. I said to my mother, I was in intensive, I woke up, and as soon as I woke up, she said, you were adamant they were in the car with you. I said, are they okay? And I said, what do you mean? They were in there? I said, they were. And my mother said, you arguing? And I said, I was walking on this dark corridor, a really dark black corridor, with a really bright light at the end of it. I was walking up this corridor, narrow corridor, and I was going to go into this light, and all of a sudden I heard voices calling me from behind. So I turned around, I looked back, and it was my little brother, he was little, it's bigger than me now, but he was little at the time. He's 14, and it was him and her dad. I don't know why them. I'm close to my younger brother. I'm close to all my brothers, but younger brother especially. We grew up together, I suppose, in the house. But I don't know why her dad. And they kept saying, don't go, come back. So I stopped, I looked at them for a while, I looked at the light, I looked back and forth, and I walked back up the tunnel to my brother and her dad. And I woke up then the next day. So,
yeah, that was literally, I mean, it's so talked about, right? But you literally were walking to the light and then you swerved it.
And that's I'm kind of black and white person. I'm quite sceptical of certain things, and I'm quite scientific. Unless I want to see the stats and that. And you hear people on films before say, I saw the light. You're thinking, yeah, okay, of course you did. But
no, so but this is lived experience, yeah, right? And what I love about that in context of the fact that when you came round, you were thinking about other people. You were instantly asking about other people. There was clearly a caring.
I thought they were there with me. I thought they were there in the car with me, and then remember the doctors came around then a few days later and said, you're not going to walk. You won't be able to walk ever again. I said, I guarantee I'll walk at this hospital.
But you defiant straight away. So when you were told that, there was no moment where you were like, you just took that head on and were like, I'll show you.
Yeah. When people tell me I can't do something, I'll do it 10 times better. I suppose, I say about my upbringing, obviously, it's quite, relentless, determined, and, but some days, emotionally, I didn't get, obviously, the support I suppose I needed, but then it was good in certain ways. It made me determined and resilient, I suppose. So it had good and bad, I suppose. I had a great upbringing. My parents would say they were fantastic, amazing parents. I love them to bits. But they're from a generation, I suppose, just come out of World War II. So what they went through probably was, so I try to understand where their generation's coming from. But they show their love in different ways. But being competitive and determined really helped me, I suppose. And I said, I'm going to walk again. They said, you won't. And I argued with this guy, the surgeon or the doctor. I learned to walk again. It took me about 2 weeks to learn to walk again. But I remember getting out of bed for the first time. After 2 months I was out of bed. The physiotherapist got me out of bed. And I had to sit back down straight away. I got lightheaded. I've been back for 2 months. So I had to sit back down straight away. She eventually got me out of bed. And I could not find my legs. My brain, I know it trained my muscle in there. I could not remember how to walk. So I stood there. My mother was there. She started crying. I looked at my mother. And the nurse, and the physio was there. And she had to physically pick my feet up and put one in front of the other to help me remember to walk again. So she did that a few times after a few days. And I remembered how to walk then. I was determined I'd walk. And then, like in the night, I'd pull myself out of bed, fall on the floor on the side of the bed, pull myself on the bars on the side of the bed, do a couple of steps, fall on my face again. The nurses go mad. Yeah, but I was determined, no disrespect. I know you'd adapt and things, but from being fit and healthy and strong from 5 to 21, playing sport, rugby, I didn't really want to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. I knew you'd adapt and overcome it, but...
But that I was just about to ask you, that 5 to 21 of training, fitness, how much of that do you think allowed you? So you got the mindset clearly. The moment you came round, you were like, I'm having it, I'm going to be walking. But you would have trained and had a habit of basically your body was fit physically. How much do you think that helped you to come through that?
Massively, I think, So my mum used to go on to me, taking all these protein powders, these vitamin tablets and things, these creatine powders, all junk and rubbish, put poison in your body. So yes, I say, but I know a part of it's luck, but I genuinely believe self-belief is such an important thing in life. And it's not just about it, it's about anything in life, your career, whatever you're doing, you've got to believe in yourself. And I lost my self-belief for years a while ago, but I believed in myself, and I think it's important, especially I love working with younger people, giving them hope and inspiration. Self-belief is in your head and heart, a lot of it is. There's people who died in hospital around me whose injuries weren't that bad. They just give up on life, I suppose. And I'm lucky I had a support network, a great family around my brothers, my friends visited me, so I had a good support network around me. But also, I was 21, hadn't achieved anything in my life then. I had so much more to give in my life. I wasn't ready to go then. Do you know what I mean? There was lots to
You
give.
recognise that. That's impressive, because your ambition and your life had been rugby.
Yeah.
And I assume, although you could walk again and talk again and use your arms, all the things you were told, you're not going to play rugby again at that level. Well, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. But maybe not with the red jersey on and where you could have gone with that career.
Yeah.
And yet there's a defiance and there's a resilience that not only did you have then, but you built upon, and we'll come to that.
Yeah.
But where did your discipline and motivation come from to then have a purpose, where you could argue the purpose you had was to put the red jersey on and take that all the way, World Cups and Six Nations and so on? That's gone. Yeah. And that could have crushed some people. What did you draw upon? So was it family, and was there a purpose that you then developed?
I think a lot of it was down to family, to be honest. Obviously, having a determined mindset as well, and proving people wrong, and also, I don't know, I wasn't ready. You felt in your body. What had I achieved in my life at 21? Nothing. Gone to the rugby club and drunk every weekend, wasting my life. What have I achieved in my life? Nothing really. I could have died at 21, looked back and I looked in my life thinking, what a waste. I've enjoyed, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my rugby years when I was playing rugby on rugby tours and stags, and it was great fun and everything, but like, really, what have I achieved? Just drinking every weekend. That's what I've done. So I wasn't ready really, but also family. My family are very close. Even though I say I know we love each other so much, the 4 brothers and my mother and father, but we never display it or show it. You've never seen my mother show or anybody say it to each other, but I know we do. If I needed my brothers, or I could pick up the phone, they'd be there straight away for me. So I know we're a really close family. But so, yeah, family really pulled me through a lot, I suppose. But also, I just wasn't ready, and I was determined to prove people wrong, I suppose. Prove the medics wrong, doctors wrong. And I just felt I just wasn't ready to go. It wasn't my time. I had so much more to give in life.
Isn't it funny how some of these awful things that can happen to people can then be defining? And it's almost like, dare I say, you'll never know what your trajectory would have been. But you were already driven and determined, but there was all sorts of things that weren't right, the drinking and the culture, if you like. Yeah. And then the key thing you talk about is this sort of lack of emotion. And you're a dad now, we're both dads sat here, and my dad's dad was a brigadier in the army. Right. And that filtered through to his parenting with me, which is not particularly emotional support and nurturing, and it was very much sort of man up. What changed with you? Because I know from our conversations that we've had and we're having right now that there's a vulnerability to you now that wasn't there at all. And what changed for you?
There's a few things that changed. One of the things, I met the man who saved my life last year, and I reached out to him on email. I tracked him on Google, which is a bit creepy, but I did track him down. I went to see him. I told him I was turned. I didn't rock up at his office. I did tell him I was coming, and I sent him a long email, so he probably don't remember me. And he said, yeah, of course I remember you. He replied actually a few days later, and he said, I remember you, of course I remember you, your injuries will always stay with me.
He'll never forget you.
Yeah, because this guy is Professor Lang, and when he left Morrison Hospital, he went on the Cardiff Bay to advise the Welsh Government, the Senate. He's well respected in industry and in medicine, I suppose. They went on to advise the Welsh Government after he left Morrison. So he's really well thought of. So he must have operated on tens of thousands of people, but he remembers my injuries and everything. So I went to see him where he is, and it was such an emotional day. And I know it wasn't just him who saved my life, but he was the person who operated on me the night of my accident. They called him from the house to come in and operate on me, and he removed all the bone out of my brain. And then I went to see him, and he said, wow, he said, you're a miracle patient. He said, you should be dead. You should have died on so many occasions. He said, look how big and strong you are. He said, it's incredible. So for 20 odd years, I struggled with mental health. My physical injuries were horrendous after my accident, really bad. But my biggest challenge, my battle I had was 20 odd years with mental health. I hated what I saw in the mirror. I called myself a freak every day, lie in bed, cry, wish I was dead. But I put on a mask, put on a fake persona, put on his mask every day, get up and drag myself out of bed every day, go to my job every day. Wouldn't talk to my mother and father about, nobody ever knew I was lying in bed crying. I kept it all to myself really, so I wish I was dead, wish I wasn't here anymore. I was a hindrance to my family, I lost my identity. So many things had gone through my head, and at the time after my accident, I refused counselling, because I assumed I would see somebody in a white coat who would judge me, psychoanalyse me, get inside my head, and I thought, I'm a macho 21-year-old kid, I'm not seeing that. I couldn't talk to my family because we don't talk about feelings and emotions. It's like a swear word, emotions, when you're a man in my house. So emotions, you're a man, you shouldn't have emotions. So like I didn't talk to anybody about it.
Very lonely place though.
It was very dark days, and it sounds mad, but what saved me, I suppose, one of the things that saved me, my son, I don't recommend people doing it if they're struggling with mental health, but my son being born 2 years after, I was still recovering after my accident really, but then I was 23, my son was born. And that was probably that was the best thing that ever happened to me. So I had a purpose in life again. And I wanted to be a good role model and a good father to my son, like my dad was to me. So I dragged myself out of bed. He never, not when he was there, but I dragged myself out of bed every day taking the rugby, taking his football, and it gave me joy and hope again and purpose again in life. And so he helped me, and more than he'd ever know, I suppose. He knows now, but he doesn't know how much he helped me actually, saved me. I don't know where I would have been if it wasn't for him giving me a purpose in life.
How old is he now?
He's 23 now.
23 now.
Yeah.
And so visiting the professor that ultimately performed the operation and saved your life, and that emotion and potentially kind of almost recognition that you're living life and perhaps not showing emotions to your son in the same way your father did. Was that a moment you then transferred to your son and you sort of had an outpouring of emotion? It's
funny you ask actually, because I basically after I met the professor who saved my life, he made me realise it was post-traumatic growth, I suppose. For years I'd look back on my life. I was looking back all the time, what I'd lost, what I'd given up. I might never have played rugby before. I might never have played this thing. So I'm looking back in my life, wasting my life on ifs and buts that might never ever happen. So I thought to myself, I'm so lucky to be still here, especially for him to say that to me. He wouldn't say that lightly. So I got to appreciate things more. There's no Andrew Jenkins part 2 or the sequel. This is my life now. So I got to live the next 40, 50 years with a chip on my shoulder, resentful, angry, bitter, all these different things. Or I could just make the most of it and help and inspire people. So after I spoke to the doctor, I sat my mother and father down then, the first time ever, and talked over the accident 24 years after it happened. We never spoke about it. It's brushed under the carpet like the elephant in the room. I sat my mother and father down on a Friday. I said, I want to talk about the accident. What do you want to talk about that for? And I said, I didn't think Dad loved me anymore. Of course, don't be so stupid. Of course he loved you. I said, but I didn't think it at the time. I didn't think that at the time. You don't show it, display it, like physically. I didn't think it. My dad's love language is time. So every rugby match we played, my 3 brothers the same, he'd be on the touchline, the rain, the snow, the sleet, he wouldn't miss a game. So that was his way of showing he loved us, is his time. So effectively, when I couldn't play rugby anymore, the only time I ever spent with my dad was playing rugby. Rugby matches after the game, we'd have a chat about things. Then apart from that, we do talk, but not about anything. I wasn't close to him. I lost that connection with my dad, so I didn't think he loved me anymore. My 3 brothers are still playing rugby, was at a good standard. So every Sunday, Mother does a traditional family tea she used to at dinner, where she makes pies, pasties, a buffet. All the boys were in one room. My dad watching Scrum 5 on the telly on a Sunday. All the wives, the girlfriends, in the other room. My mum. But all the boys are talking about the game of rugby they played the day before. I played rugby. I was going to try. I had a fight. This, that. I'm sat there thinking, what can I talk about? He loves my brothers more than me. I know he does. I know now, but at the time I thought he loves them more than me. I can't make him proud. I'm sitting there smiling, listening to my brothers. I've got nothing to contribute to the conversation. So this went on for 20 odd years. So I sat them down last year and told them. And of course we love you. It was stupid. I said, you changed, you're a different boy now. Because I've done a lot of work and studying over the last couple of years. I knew they didn't really have an answer for me. You're moody, you're miserable, you changed. I said, why? I said, well, tell me why I changed. They didn't know. But I said, I didn't think obviously Dad loved me. And I said, it's funny, whenever you used to speak to somebody outside of this house, people who worked with me, friends, family, Andrew's bubbly, he talks, he's life and soul, my parents would look at him thinking, Andrew, he's really quiet and he's moody. I said, only when I come in this house, I go in my shell then, because I thought my brothers around me, they're better than me, I got nothing to contribute. So I think it's only when I come in here, and I told him the reasons, so we had a good conversation. And then going back to your point about my son, I sat my son down in a coffee shop in Cardiff then.
Similar time.
Saturday morning. So this weekend was a big therapy weekend. So Saturday morning, I sat my son down. We had a 4.5-hour chat about everything. Girls, drink, drugs, everything. I told him all things I'd done in my life. He was open with me. I want to be one of these parents who, I'm not naive to think my son is perfect. He goes to raves. I've done security. I know what goes on in raves. I know what's offered in raves. I've done door work. He goes to the gym. I know what gets offered in gyms. So I'm not stupid. I'm hoping if you've got any issues or problems, he can come and talk to me about it, which he does. And at the end of that conversation...
Did he before? Was that
no.
a life check? So that was the moment. So he wasn't before
we were
in
close,
this conversation.
But not as close as we are now. So we had, at the end of that conversation, I told him I loved him for the first time in his life, at 23 years of age. I've never said it to him before. And I hugged him and I said, I'm proud of you no matter what you do in life, how big your house is, your car, I don't care. I love you, I'm proud of you no matter what. So I'm hoping I've broken that generational cycle in my family. We tell each other we love each other all the time now. And I said, I don't care if you play rugby or not. Because sometimes watching him play rugby, I'm thinking, he's not enjoying that. Is he playing to keep me happy? Exactly. Or is he playing because he wants to? He don't play rugby anymore. He doesn't. He's back. He had a year or two out he did, but he's back playing now. He's in Australia. He's playing over in Perth. But he had a year or two out because I took a bit of pressure off him, do you know what I mean? But I projected...
He's playing because he wants to now, not because he feels he needs to, potentially.
I was a mirror. What my dad did was for me. My dad never said anything bad to me, but he never said anything good either. Do you know what I mean? There was never any validation, there was never any praise, there was never any nothing negative, never said anything bad to me, but he never praised me anyway. But I projected this on my son for years, and we did a film actually, for a production called Sound Lad, so toxic masculinity, how things have changed now. And he admitted, it was a really good interview actually, it was on Sky, I think, a bit on Sky. It's really powerful a couple of weeks back, and he said on this, when I said I loved him, it stopped him in his tracks. He said he never heard me say it before. He knew it, but he never actually heard me say it. And he said it took him back when I said it to him only last year, and it took him back a bit. And it's amazing it was, and like we're really close, really close. He's a really good kid. So I spoke to him on a Saturday morning, my oldest brother on a Saturday afternoon, my other brother on a Sunday, my other brother on a Monday morning. So I spoke to everybody on that weekend. It's a big therapy weekend.
And actually you've got what you describe as your biggest challenge yet, coming from you and what you've been through and what you've done. Yeah. Tell me what your next challenge is.
Oh, I don't know. As it comes closer, I think it was one of the best of it. I was sort of bumped on the head a couple of years ago. I think it must have had something happen to my brain. I was lying in bed one night, I had like a premonition. I thought, that'd be a good idea if I walked from the Traitors Castle in Scotland and finished in Cardiff Castle in Wales. Castle the castle. And then it evolved then. And when I spoke to a man who's organised, a company called Challenge the Wild, a guy called Dan. He does lots of the celebrity walks and challenges and things. And I spoke to him one day. I said, we're going through Scotland, England, Wales. So why not chuck Ireland in the mix as well, all 4 home nations? So I rang him up and said, Dan, can we change the route? He said, yeah, why? He said, can we go to Northern Ireland as well? So 4 countries, 4 castles. So I'm started off in Traitors Castle, Ardros Castle, where I filmed that. And then going to Lancaster Castle in England, on a ferry across to Carrickfergus Castle in Northern Ireland, back to Wales, back through to Wales, then finishing in Cardiff Castle in Wales. So it's 1,200 kilometres. And I want to do as many talks as I can on mental health, well-being, in universities, schools, rugby clubs, sports clubs, gyms, and talk about I want to try and do 30 talks in 30 days if I can as well. Brilliant. And so it's a big thing for me. Being told I couldn't walk 25 years ago, to walking 1,200 kilometres is a big challenge. I was just showing people, just keep believing in yourself. You can achieve. I'm not going to say anything in life because I think that's a bit of a rainbow unicorn. I'm a real person. I think you can achieve most things in life if you put your mind to. If you work hard, you've got a plan and a structure in place, and you give it everything you've got a good support team around you, you think you can achieve things really. So. Yeah.
But for me, this conversation is lived experience, right? Yeah. I mean, you had the top of your head gone at one point in your life. You've come through so much, and yet you're inspiring me. You're inspiring others that. And you're trying to help so many people as well. Right? I mean, how admirable is that? What a purpose, what a mission. And you're out there, ultimately trying to raise awareness for mental health, which, let's be honest, it's at crisis proportions. Right?
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's getting better, but there's still a long way to go. Still a long way to go. And I think we need to educate people much more, especially the younger generation as well. You educate people maybe in schools. The national curriculum, I think, is so out of date. We need to educate people, I suppose. And, we're the most educated population the world has ever seen. So we should be the wealthiest, the fittest, the happiest. But it's not. It's all the opposite. The suicide rates are going up. Financial crisis is off the ridiculous. And obesity is costing the NHS billions of pounds. So something's breaking down somewhere. Then why not in school? Why not have like an hour, 2 hours a week, call it well-being session where you learn about calories in, calories out, which is common sense weight loss. It's not rocket science, but they make it so complicated. Colours this, points this, sins this, whatever. But it's calories in. Like educate children on APRs, percentages. When you leave school, when you borrow money, you know it's going to cost you whatever. If I said to my son now, it's 49% APR good, I bet he wouldn't have a clue if that's good interest rate or not. He wouldn't know, do you mean? So I worked in finance for 7 years in Lloyd's Bank. So, and I also as well, mood as well, how to regulate your mood, identify or be self-aware. If you're having a low day or a down day, what sort of things you can do to put him, I'm not saying teach kids to be counsellors or psychologists, but give them a basic understanding of how they can regulate their moods and how to snap out of it, rather than let them spiral or go to the doctors, getting pill or whatever. So there's 3 things I think they should do that in schools to help be happier, less suicides, more wealthier and less obese, wouldn't it? So I don't know, something's breaking down somewhere. So I'd love to get into the education sector one day and talk to them again.
You'd be great. I mean, we all learned how to use a Bunsen burner at school, but no one knows how to understand a mortgage or a rent, and we're all going to pay one. Yeah, it's just mad.
Life
and you're doing the well-being, the mindfulness. I think it's incredible what you're doing. Is there any more reality TV coming that we can look forward to with you?
I'd love to do.
You've got a bug for it now.
I'd love to do. There's obviously 3. I'd love to do 3 things. The Gladiators. I was with all the Gladiators in Comic Relief a few weeks back in Manchester. I was mic'd up to Comic Relief, and God, they're huge. The women are bigger than me. So
coming from you,
they're big guys. Like, and I was winding up, so I'd beat you, and I'd get on that. I'd love to get on that. I love that. Or SAS Who Dares Wins. I'd love to be on that. I think that's an amazing show because that's about mental strength and physical strength. I could probably better than that. I'm not very good on the Traitors, but I think I'd be better on SAS Who Dares Wins. I'm mentally strong and I'm quite fit physically as well. So I'd love to do something like that. Or what everyone wants to go as I'm a celebrity. They're the 3. I only do them 3. Wouldn't do anything else.
No. I can see you on SAS Who Dares Wins.
I'd love to do that.
See you winning that. Actually.
I'd love to have a go at that. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you. You are a true inspiration, and actually the epitome of extraordinary life stories for me. It's that lived experience. I've learnt loads talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thanks. Cheers.